Let's talk about some MF homes. You know what an MF home is? Manufactured homes. I've been hearing a lot more about these. I think there's probably some mixed feelings on manufactured homes. What is a manufactured home, first off? Growing up in Holbrook, we had to drive to Flagstaff a lot on the I-40, and I'd remember houses passing us sometimes on the back of trailers, like half of a house. That's like a manufactured home, right? It's where they build them off-site or at a facility, and then they ship them and deliver them and install them. And these newer manufactured homes are actually really nice. Like I've seen some legit ones, feels like a regular single family stick-built home. You can typically get these properties at a lower price. So there's a great opportunity, I think, for first-time home buyers or those, looking to buy your very first house, or maybe you want a bigger piece of land and you don't want to have to pay an HOA. And so, a manufactured home would be perfect for something like that. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of the rules and just a little bit of weird things when it comes to manufactured. They are great, but you have to make sure that you have a lender that really understands how the financing works with these. There will be a lot of expensive surprises along the way if you have someone that doesn't know what they're doing. Like I said, a manufactured home is going to be something that is built off-site. It's also known as a modular home. In order to get a mortgage on it, the land has to be with it. I get people that search for things. They'll send me a house and they'll be like, hey, look at it. Can you do a loan on a manufactured home? And I'll say yes. They'll text me a picture of this manufactured home for like $60,000. Like, well, this one's only 60 grand. Can I do that? And then when I look into it, 9 times out of 10, the reason why that property is so cheap is because it's just the property. The land that it sits on is rented, or it's on a lot rent, if you have to pay rent for the land, basically, right? You've seen those RV parks, and you have to pay like $500-600 for the lot, park your house, manufactured home, mobile home, whatever it is, then you buy the house. Well, unfortunately, I can't do a mortgage on that. The land has to come with it for it to be considered real estate. You cannot get a mortgage, at least a traditional mortgage, on a manufactured home that was built prior to July of 1976. Super specific date. And the reason for that is because prior to July of 1976, manufactured homes were classified as vehicles. So they literally registered them through the DMV. So they don't have like a deed the same way that a house would, right? So that's the reason why we can't finance those with a mortgage. There are lenders out there that provide financing for those types of manufactured homes that are on lot rents or older than 1976. But I don't do those ones, so I'm not going to get into the details because 1, I don't know them, and 2, I can't help you anyway. I'm going to talk about the stuff that I do know, which is the manufactured homes that do come with the land. And many times you can get these things at a great price, 50, 100K less than a similar sized home that's a stick-built home. So that's why I really like these ones. But again, there's a few things you want to be aware of. I already mentioned the date, as well as the land. The other part of it is they make single-wide manufactured homes and they make double-wide manufactured homes. The single-wide ones are also, it's not impossible, but they're extremely hard to finance. They're hard to find lenders that are willing to do loans on the single-wide ones. I've heard of a few, but they have to be like newer than 10 years old, and that just really doesn't exist with the ones that are single-wides anyway. So just look for a double-wide, because the double-wide ones pretty much everybody can finance. You can get a VA loan, an FHA loan, a conventional loan, even a USDA. But USDA also has some really weird, strict rules. So let's say you want to use that USDA loan, 0 down. If you want to buy a manufactured home, the manufactured home has to have a USDA loan on it already in order for you to finance it again with USDA. So that's the only kind of weird one with that one. Anything FHA, conventional, VA, that's all going to work the same. However, with conventional, there's another little weird rule too with manufactured. So as a first-time home buyer, what is the minimum down payment on a conventional loan if you're a first-time home buyer? 3%. 3%. Well, 3% if it's not a manufactured home. So for whatever reason, that minimum 3% down, which is set aside for first-time home buyers, you can't buy a manufactured home with a minimum 3% down. Conventional requires 5% down, even for a first-time home buyer on manufactured homes. However, FHA, still 3.5%. Still 3.5% down. VA, 0 down. Still great options. And again, USDA, 0 down. if it's already financed by USDA. The other thing with manufactured homes is because they are built off-site and then delivered and installed in most cases, and again, for the most part, you're going to be buying these used. They're already there. They're already on the land. Can't hook it up to your trailer and tow it off somewhere. And we actually have to make sure that that is the case. Well, at least if you're going to get a government-backed loan. So if you're going to get a VA loan or an FHA loan, you have to get something called an engineer's certification. We have to hire someone, or you'll have to hire someone that will go out to the property and make sure that that it is properly affixed to the foundation. They have these things called tie downs. They have to make sure that you can't hook up the house to a trailer and haul it off. The chances of that are very unlikely, but we still have to verify that. So most of the time we're going to need that engineer's certification, which will confirm that it is properly tied down, that all the foundation and work is correct. If it's not, then they're going to require additional repairs. Those things have to be done prior to completing the sale on the property. So let's say you go under contract on one of these manufactured homes, you get an engineer's certification. The cost of those, at least in Arizona, is right around $1,000. So, give or take, I've seen them cheaper, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, but on average around $1,000 for an engineer's cert. And anybody can pay for it. Buyer, seller, it's a negotiable item. But let's say you go in there and you pay for it, and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, this thing's not up to current code. We need the repairs done. Well, those repairs have to be done before you get the keys to that house, before you can close on it, before we can do the loan. All those repairs will have to be done. Even though these are great properties that are usually more inexpensive, they can get expensive if you are not prepared and don't know about all these other things. The best thing you want to do is you want to get ahead of it before you're even under contract, right? You want to ask those questions to the agent, to the seller, whoever's selling the property. Has an engineer's certification been completed? When was it done? Do you know if you have the proper tie downs? If you're going to do a conventional loan, they're not automatically required, but it's pretty common that they do request them. The only way it gets called out on a conventional loan is if the appraiser has concerns. They say, all right, yeah, home looks good. It's, I say it's worth $350K, but I think we might need an engineer's certification to verify that it's tied down correctly. If the appraiser says that, we have to order one per underwriting. But if they don't mention anything, they just say value's good, no problems, you don't have to get an engineer's certification on those conventional loans only. Anything that's going to be FHA or VA or USDA is always going to require it. Also, manufactured homes typically can only be purchased as primary and secondary homes. You typically cannot buy them, at least with a mortgage, to use for an investment property. I have not been able to find someone that's willing to give you a loan, specifically when it's to rent it out, right? But if you are going to buy it to live in it with your primary residence, you've got fantastic options for low down payments. With VA, USDA, it's 0 down, FHA as low as 3.5% down, and conventional as low as 5% down. That's pretty much everything I know about these manufactured homes. If you do have questions, if you have a unique scenario, something you're looking at, or maybe you own a manufactured home and you haven't been able to get financing on it for a refinance, I do offer refinances on manufactured homes. Check out my website. I think I've got a whole section on manufactured homes. If there is anything that I didn't answer that you want to know, hit me up in the comments or just shoot me a text, give me a call anytime. Let's make homeownership happen for you. Manufactured homes are awesome. Motherfucker.